Exclusions. The inspector is not required to determine the following: property boundary lines or encroachments, the condition of any component or system that is not readily accessible, the service life expectancy of any component or system, the size, capacity, BTU, performance, or efficiency of any component or system, the cause or reason of any condition, the cause for the need of correction, repair, or replacement of any system or component, future conditions, compliance with codes or regulations, the presence of evidence of rodents, birds, bats, animals, insects, or other pests, the presence of mold, mildew, or fungus, the presence of airborne hazards including radon, the air quality, the existence of environmental hazards including lead paint, asbestos, or toxic drywall, the existence of electromagnetic fields, any hazardous waste conditions, any manufacturer's recalls or conformance with manufacturer installation, or any information included for consumer protection purposes, acoustical properties, correction, replacement, or repair cost estimates, or estimates of the cost to operate any given system. Again, the inspector is not required to determine any of those factors. The inspector is not required to operate any system that is shut down, any system that does not function properly, or evaluate low-voltage electrical systems such as, but not limited to, phone lines, cable lines, satellite dishes, antennae, lights, or remote controls. The inspector is not required to operate any system that does not turn on with the use of normal operating controls, any shut-off valves or manual stop valves, any electrical disconnect or overcurrent protection devices, any alarm systems, moisture meters, gas detectors, or similar equipment. The inspector is not required to move any personal items or other obstructions such as, but not limited to, throw rugs, carpeting, wall coverings, furniture, ceiling tiles, window coverings, equipment, plants, ice, debris, snow, water, dirt, pets, or anything else that might restrict the visual inspection. The inspector is not required to dismantle, open, or uncover any system or component, enter or access any area that may, in the inspector's opinion, be unsafe, enter crawl spaces or other areas that may be unsafe or not readily accessible, inspect underground items such as, but not limited to, lawn irrigation systems, underground storage tanks or other indications of their presence, whether abandoned or actively used. The inspector is not required to do anything which may, in the inspector's opinion, be unsafe or dangerous to the inspector or others, or damage property, such as, but not limited to, walking on roof surfaces, climbing ladders, entering attic spaces, or negotiating with pets. The inspector is not required to inspect decorative items, inspect common elements or areas in multi-unit housing, inspect intercoms, speaker systems, or security systems, offer guarantees or warranties, offer or perform any engineering services, offer or perform any trade or professional service other than a home inspection. The inspector is not required to research the history of the property or report on its potential for alteration, modification, extendability, or suitability for a specific or proposed use for occupancy. The inspector is not required to determine the age of construction or installation of any system, structure, or component of a building, or differentiate between original construction and subsequent additions, improvements, renovations, or replacements. The inspector is not required to determine the insurability of a property, perform or offer Phase 1 or environmental audits, or inspect any system or component that is not included in these standards. Imagine you are looking at an image of a townhouse whose roof was beyond the scope of a home inspection because it's not readily visible and not readily accessible to the inspector. The home inspector is not required to do anything that may, in the inspector's opinion, be unsafe or dangerous to the inspector or others, or damage property, such as walking on roof surfaces or climbing ladders. So in this case, with the image of the townhouse with the roof that's not readily visible, unfortunately the home inspector was unable to see the roof covering materials for that inspection. The home inspector would explain to the client in this inspection report that the inspection was restricted and did not include a visual inspection of the roof covering materials. The report would recommend that the inspector's client ask the seller for detailed information about the roof's age, its condition, and its performance in the past. Home inspectors are not required to inspect and report on systems and components that cannot be observed. Home inspectors are not required to inspect everything in a house. Home inspectors are not required to find and report all defects that exist in a house during the time of inspection. Now imagine an image of an attached garage filled with many personal items. The inspector is not required to move any personal items or other obstructions that might restrict the visual inspection. There may be a defect in the garage that the inspector would not be able to observe because of the personal items that obstruct and restrict the visual inspection. It may be valuable to you as a home inspector to take extra pictures during your inspection that may help document the condition of a room and the restrictions that existed at the time of your inspection.